When the smoke clears at the end of the video, make sure you sign up for the Vanguard giveaway. Hi, this is JP Morgan. Today on the Slanted Lens, we're going to look at lenses. What lens do you buy after you bought your camera with that little kit lens that came with it? What's the next step from there? What are the choices you have, and how do you spend your money wisely? I'm here with Ileana. We shot on the bridge this morning. We showed the different focal lengths and what they do. We're going to show a little bit of that shoot and how we lit it. But first off, let's talk about lenses. As a foundation for our conversation today, we're going to take a look at our talent using different lenses. I'm going to stand in the same place. Let's take a look at what those look like and how it changes the scene as I don't change my position, but we just simply change the focal length. Here's a 16mm lens. Here's a 24mm lens. Here's a 35mm lens. Here's a 50mm lens. Here's a 70mm lens. This is a 100mm lens. Now we're looking at a 135mm lens. And last of all, we have our 200mm lens. The longer the focal length, the narrower the angle of view. People come closer to us. Look at my lesson called How the Lens Shapes the Face to see what happens when you move closer with a wide-angle lens. That gives you a good idea what lenses do as you move closer, changing the perspective. When I first bought my Mark II, I bought 3 lenses. I bought a 16-35, a 24-70, a 70-200. I mean, I felt like I had a range of just about everything I could do with those 3 lenses. So those are my next purchases after I bought my camera. And maybe you can't afford to buy all 3 of those at the same time. So what's the one lens you want to buy? It really comes down to what it is you're shooting. Let's look at the difference between fixed focal length and zoom lenses. Zoom lenses have the ability to zoom in and out, which means you can, on this one, go to 24 to 70 millimeters. It gives you the ability to really work quickly. I use zoom lenses almost exclusively because I can just get in and shoot quickly. It gives me the ability to change my focal length very fast and really frame my image. It keeps the flow going for me, so I love it. But prime lenses, they're really fixed focal length, which means you get one focal length. You've got to walk in closer or walk back if you want to change the perspective. Fixed focal length lenses are sharper because there aren't any moving elements. They're just a sharper lens. A zoom lens gives you the option of being able to get in closer and zoom in and out, but because the elements move, it's a little softer. But you know, zoom lenses have come a long ways. They're pretty darn good. I have a 50mm lens here. A 50mm lens is very normal. If I take a shot of her, it's gonna see pretty much the way my eye does. I'm gonna have a very comfortable shot. It's gonna look very nice of her. This one actually is a macro lens, so I can get in really close. Some great shots of her eye. Even closer. So I'm basically just getting her eye and nothing else. That's a specialty lens. It's not a normal 50mm lens. It's a macro lens. If you use a fixed focal length lens, then this is what a zoom is, 24mm. This is the only way you can zoom. And zoom more. It's one of the reasons I love zoom lenses, because I can just go in and out. It gives me a lot of options. I can punch in and out. With a fixed focal length lens, as you walk in closer or further away from the subject, it changes the perspective. But with a zoom lens, you can zoom in or out and it doesn't change the perspective at all. With zoom lenses, you get a 2.8. That's about as fast as you're going to get. But with a prime lens, you can get to a 1.0. I mean, you really get 4 to 6 times more light with a prime lens. A much shallower depth of field, which means if you want that really nice bokeh, or you really want a focus to fall out in the background, it's a much easier thing to do with a prime lens. A 50mm prime lens at a 1.2, the background's going to drop out of focus very quickly. It's a great lens for doing children or people kinds of things. I really like it when you get into longer lenses. So for me, the 70 to 200mm zoom is great for me, but again, it's a 2.8. I just love that 200mm lens. It's just so sweet. A nice highlight on the right side from the open sky and a little sun on the left side. I'm really at 1/60 of the second, 2.8, so I'm wide open. Lets everything kind of go out of focus in the background. The next issue you face is, and I get asked this question all the time, what about image stabilization? You know, is that worth the money? Absolutely. If you're going to handhold lenses at all, using some kind of vibration control, which is what Tamron has, image stabilization that Canon has. You need that. If you're going to handhold a 200mm lens, you absolutely have to have that. So I think it's worth the money, I really do. If you're going to keep it on a tripod and you're going to shoot nothing but on tripod, then you're probably going to be okay. But I think it's worth the money to get the image stabilization and vibration control. So to wrap that up, primes, sharpness and aperture so you get more light, zooms, ease and convenience so you can get in and out fast. There's your difference between those two lenses. So let's talk about aperture, because the most important thing you're going to purchase when you buy a lens is the aperture. It's not just the focal length, but it's going to also be how fast is the lens. That means how wide it opens up. Your kit lens that came with your camera probably has a 3.5, 4.5, or some varying aperture, so that as you zoom in, the aperture changes. That really is inconvenient. Your light changes, it's hard to work with. It really is the sign of an inexpensive lens. When you get a fixed aperture, a 2.8, that means that your light is not going to change. But is a 2.8 going to give you the shallowest depth of field? It really isn't. If you get a 1.2 or a 1.8, that really is going to be very shallow depth of field. It makes it so you get really wonderful bokeh. It gets the background to drop out very quickly. So aperture is worth the money, but it does cost money. They have a saying in the racing industry, speed costs money, how fast do you want to go? So lenses cost money, how fast do you want to go? And I think it's absolutely worth it. The quicker the lenses, the shallower the depth of field, the easier it is to work. But remember this, when you really get into that really shallow depth of field kind of work, you really need to know and have some experience to make that really valuable to you. Because if you're going to shoot at 1.2, there's not much in focus, especially on a 5D Mark III, there's not much in focus at all. So it might not be the first lens you're going to want to buy. You might want to get something that'll be a little easier, not spend the money and get a 2.8 lens, and that'll help you get the work you need to, help you kind of move into that world, and you can progress with it. I don't know how much you should spend, but I do know this, the kit lens that came with your camera has got to go. You need to get something that's going to be a little better to help you do the work you need to. Okay, so we've talked about different focal lengths. We talked about zoom versus fixed focal length. We talked about apertures. We talked about vibration control or image stabilization. Now the question comes, you have your kit lens, you bought a 50mm lens, what's the next lens you buy? Really for me it's a 24 to 70mm lens. That's the best choice for me because it's a great walk around lens, it's a great application, it's a fixed aperture, it really does the job it needs to. But again, I can't answer that question because you're going to have to apply this to what you do a little research about the kind of work that you want to do and find the lens that's going to best suit the images that you want to make. But I would guess the 24-70 is probably going to be your next purchase. For those of you who are a little more advanced, you maybe have some zoom lenses, you're wondering what the next purchase is, you know, it really becomes a very surgical decision. You buy a certain lens to do a very certain thing. I bought the 24 1.4 lens. I really am going to use that on the glide cam. I'm going to use it to do time lapse. So that lens will solve that problem for me. So you start making decisions. Generally speaking, you start buying prime lenses to do very specific things. They're sharper, they're going to work a little better for you, and you kind of graduate to that next level. Let's look at our lighting setup for today's lessons. We used a flex flash on a stand with a Dynalight XP800 battery pack. I have an octadome with a grid on it so we can keep our light very defined and just on our talent's face. This was placed in that small alcove just over to the side of the bridge. That was the only place we could find where we could kind of tuck our light in, so we moved our chute down to that area. We set the light off to that left side. Then as we aimed it at our talent, we feathered it away from the wall and slightly down so it wasn't lighting up too much of the wall and just stayed on her face. It's a little warm, so when I go into those raw images, I can take the warmth out of it, which will make the background just a little bit cooler. I think it'll be a nice look in the end. So there's the basic lighting setup that we used. Remember, it isn't the equipment you buy that takes great images. You use equipment to make great images, but you've got to be able to take great pictures. You've got to practice, and you've got to be able to use the equipment that you buy. So make sure you're using the equipment to its fullest. Don't spend a ton of money on things you don't need, but buy the things you need to be able to progress to the next level. So keep those cameras rolling and keep on clicking. There's many different ways you can enter to win one of these pieces of equipment from Vanguard. So go to theslantedlens.com. You have until midnight on the 20th of December, and we're going to give this all away for Christmas. So go to theslantedlens.com and enter to win one of these great pieces of equipment from Vanguard. Also, don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Keep those cameras rolling, keep on clicking.